There is a theory that humans didn't build civilization and then start drinking. They started drinking, and that's what built civilization. The evidence for it is sitting in a cave in Israel, on a hilltop in Turkey, and in a pottery jar in China that is 9,000 years old. But to understand any of that, you have to go back 10 million years to a forest floor in Africa and a small primate that was about to accidentally start one of the longest chains of cause and effect in human history. In 2014, a biologist at UC Berkeley named Robert Dudley published a book called The Drunken Monkey. His argument was simple. When fruit falls from a tree and ferments, it produces small amounts of ethanol. The primates that followed that smell found more food. The ones that didn't often didn't survive. Over millions of years, the attraction wasn't just tolerated. It was selected for. By the time the first humans walked the earth, the craving was already ancient. So when did we stop finding alcohol and start making it? Earlier than anyone expected. In 2018, archaeologists excavating a cave called Rakefet near Haifa in Israel found stone mortars carved directly into the bedrock. When they analyzed the residue inside, they found traces of wheat and barley that had been soaked, germinated, and deliberately fermented. 13,000 years ago, in a cave, the people who made that beer were called the Natufians. And here is the thing about the Natufians. They were not farmers. They had not invented agriculture. They were still nomadic, still hunting animals and collecting wild grain by hand. They did not grow the barley they fermented. They went out and found it. Brewing came before farming. Think about what that means. The version of history most of us learned goes like this. Humans settled down, developed agriculture, built civilization, and then discovered fermentation. Alcohol came after. But Rakefet says the opposite, and it is not alone. About 1,000 years later, in the hills of southeastern Turkey, someone built something that should not have existed. A site called Göbekli Tepe. Massive stone pillars weighing over 10 tons, arranged in careful circles and carved with precision. Built before farming, before pottery, before anyone in the region had a permanent home. For years, archaeologists could not explain it. Why would nomadic hunter-gatherers organize the labor needed to drag 10-ton stones up a hill? Then they found the vats, large stone vessels capable of holding hundreds of liters, chemical traces of fermented grain inside. Not small amounts, enough for a crowd. Göbekli Tepe was not a home. It was a gathering place. People traveled from across the region to drink together. And that raises the question that archaeobotanist Patrick McGovern at the University of Pennsylvania has spent his entire career trying to answer. Why did humans start farming at all? McGovern's answer is direct. They didn't start farming to make bread. They started farming to make beer. Bread is complex. Grinding, kneading, baking. Beer is simpler. You soak grain in water, leave it alone, and fermentation happens by itself. And the reward? A drink that lowered inhibitions, created warmth, gave people a reason to gather, was a far stronger motivator than a slightly different way to eat grain. If he is right, alcohol didn't follow civilization. It may have caused it. By 9,000 years ago, the evidence gets even clearer. In a village called Jiahu in central China, pottery jars were found containing residue from a fermented drink made from rice, honey, grapes, and hawthorn berries. Multiple ingredients, deliberately combined. This is the oldest known recipe anywhere on Earth. And it is not for food. From there, the story only accelerates. Ancient Egypt built an entire civilization partially on beer. Workers who constructed the pyramids were paid in it, 4 to 5 liters a day, not as a bonus, as a salary. The water from the Nile was often contaminated. Beer, because of these fermentation process, was safer. It also provided calories a laborer working in desert heat desperately needed. One drink was doing the job of a paycheck, a water filter, and a meal, all from the same cup. So here is the full picture. 10 million years ago, a primate followed the smell of something fermenting on a forest floor. 13,000 years ago, humans were brewing in caves before they knew how to plant a seed. 12,000 years ago, they may have built the first monuments in human history just to have a place to drink together. 9,000 years ago, they had recipes. 5,000 years ago, entire civilizations were running on it. Alcohol did not arrive after humans built the world. There is a serious argument that humans built the world in order to keep making it. The next time you have a drink, you are continuing something that started before your species had a name for itself. The cup got fancier, the ingredients got better, the label changed, but the impulse is exactly the same one that made a small primate reach for a piece of overripe fruit on a forest floor 10 million years ago. We just learned how to make it on purpose.